Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to HotandFlashy and welcome to my mineral sunscreen testing video for 2025. I've been making a sunscreen testing video for 9 or 10 years now, and the reason I started was because I realized that I couldn't use the standard American chemical sunscreen ingredients because when I put on my sunscreen, my skin would start to burn and feel like it was on fire. And I was like, what is going on? This has never happened to me before. And eventually, I figured out that it was because of the chemical sunscreen ingredients. And what I learned back then was that if you used mineral sunscreen, that the mineral ingredients, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, are actually soothing to the skin. And so that it enabled me to go ahead and keep using my very important anti-aging ingredients like tretinoin and vitamin C and alpha hydroxy acids that I wanted to use because, of course, back then I had just turned 50. I had a lifetime of sun damage because I was a sun worshiper, and I wanted to stop doing sun worshiping, protect my skin, because the sun's rays caused 80 to 90% of the aging that we see in our skin. My skin looked way older than it was. It looked way older than it needed to because of all the sun worshiping I did. So at that point, I decided that I wasn't going to roast my face in the sun anymore. I was going to protect it from the sun, and I was going to use mineral sunscreen to do it so that I could continue to use my most effective anti-aging ingredients. So that's how I came to be someone who was searching for a perfect mineral sunscreen. So in today's video, I am going to be putting on for you and trying 19 more sunscreens. And I've tried over 250 sunscreens now at this point, and they are mineral sunscreens. I can't say that they're all mineral sunscreens. If you've ever used a mineral sunscreen thinking that it was supposed to be soothing to your skin and not irritating, but it did irritate your skin, it could be the sunscreen boosters, butyl salicylate and also tridecyl salicylate. Those can cause some irritation. They're not regulated as a sunscreen, and so the sunscreen makers don't have to tell you how much is in there. I, of course, will tell you which ones are truly mineral sunscreens, which ones contain sunscreen boosters. For most of the ones with sunscreen boosters, you'll notice that I only put it on my face. I don't put it on my neck. My neck is like double sensitive. The other thing that you'll see me doing in the video is measuring out the sunscreen. I use either 1/4 teaspoon or 1/8 teaspoon. 1/4 teaspoon is when I'm putting the sunscreen on my face and my neck. That's the amount that you need to get the SPF number on the label. So if you're putting on an SPF 50 and you're not using at least 1/4 teaspoon, you're probably cutting that SPF 50 down to about an SPF of 10. In order to level the playing field, I use the same amount of each sunscreen. I rub it in the same way. Of the 19 sunscreens, there are a bunch that just don't even work for me as a sunscreen. We'll run through them quickly. The ones that I like as a sunscreen, I'll also try under makeup. And so for those, you get a full day wear test. And the foundation that I use this year, because I, again, like to keep it all the same, is the e.l.f. Soft Glam Foundation. This is a fabulous drugstore foundation. Here's some footage of what it looks like using my Holy Grail sunscreen that was the winner of this video last year. It lasts all day with that sunscreen. It doesn't wear off. It doesn't settle into wrinkles. It looks natural on my skin. That is what I want out of a sunscreen. Let's start taking a look at the sunscreens. I rank them from worst to best. So the winner this year will be at the end of the video. So stay tuned to the very end for that. So the first category is sunscreens that are not wearable on their own because they give me a strong white cast. They're super greasy. They made my face itch. They settled into my neck wrinkles, or they didn't blend well. First up is from Blue Lizard. This is the Blue Lizard Sensitive Sunscreen SPF 50. This retails for $18.99 for 5 ounces, so it's only $3.79 an ounce. It contains 10% zinc oxide, 8% titanium dioxide. It does contain sunscreen booster, butyl salicylate. This is fragrance-free and it's 80 minutes water resistant. This is a white thick lotion. It goes on feeling super heavy, super greasy, and it has a really strong white cast that doesn't dissipate even after 20 to 30 minutes of dry back, and I'm putting dry back in air quotes because this never dries back. It stays greasy feeling. I gave it a 0 out of 5 as a sunscreen, and I didn't try it under makeup. All right, next up and equally unwearable is this sunscreen from MDSolarSciences. This is their Mineral Moisture Defense SPF 50. This is $46 for 3.4 ounces. That's $13.52 an ounce. It's 17% zinc oxide, 2% titanium dioxide. It does contain sunscreen booster, butyl salicylate. This one is fragrance-free and it is water resistant to 80 minutes. This is a white lotion that feels lightweight, yet greasy, yet powdery. It's the standard silicone feel. This formula is mainly silicones. I actually have reviewed this one before, but it was in different packaging. They've changed the look of it, and so it fooled me. It goes on very smeary, it goes on very streaky, it doesn't blend in great around the eyebrows and around hair. And on top of that, this one also left a strong white cast. For me, it is unwearable. This one gets a 0 out of 5 as a sunscreen for me. I didn't try it under makeup. Next up is Innisfree Color Correcting Sunscreen SPF 45. This is $22 for 1.69 ounces, making it $13 an ounce. It's 17% zinc oxide. It does contain butyl salicylate, the sunscreen booster. This is fragrance-free, vegan, and cruelty-free, but not water resistant. This is a mint green tinted lotion that is supposed to color correct your skin if you have a lot of redness in it. On me, this leaves a greenish, whitish cast on the skin that doesn't rub in well. It gathers in the hair, it clings to skin flakes. So this one is unwearable on its own. I give it a 0 out of 5 as a sunscreen, and I didn't try it under makeup. Next up is the Face Shop Everyday Mineral Face Protection Cream SPF 50. It's $24 for 1.7 ounces, so that's $14 an ounce. It's 15.52% zinc oxide. It does not contain a sunscreen booster. It's fragrance-free and 40 minutes water resistant. This is a whitish lotion that feels really greasy and wet going on and very sticky. It clings to hair and eyebrows. It has a strong white cast and it goes on streaky and patchy. After 20 minutes of dry back, it feels slightly less greasy and looks a little less white casty, but it's still too much of a white cast for me to be able to wear it on its own, and it's settled into my neck wrinkles. I give it a 0 out of 5 as a sunscreen and didn't try it under makeup. Next up is this called Fré or Free? It's got the accent over the E, so I'm thinking it's Fré. Glow Me SPF 30 Tinted Moisturizer. This is $40 for 1.7 ounces. It comes in 2 shades, and it's $23 per ounce. This is 19.2% zinc oxide, no sunscreen booster, and it's water resistant to 40 minutes. This is a tinted lotion, and the shade I got it in is the light medium. This sunscreen glides over the skin and feels like skincare. I was so excited when I first started rubbing it in. I thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna be the winner, but that ended really quickly when this started to ball and pill with the skincare that I had used under it. e.l.f. Holy Hydration Cream. There were little balls all over my hands, all over my face. So to give it another chance, I went downstairs, washed my face, put on my CeraVe lotion, and tried it again. But sadly, it was the same thing. I had to give it a 0 out of 5 as a sunscreen. It's unwearable on its own. Next up is a sunscreen that I bought during Sephora sale. I actually bought a lot of these during Sephora sale. I was like, ooh, look at all the new sunscreens, yay! There's gonna be a great one among these new sunscreens. So this one is Lion Pose UnGhosted SPF 42. This is $39 for 1.7 ounces, so that makes it $23 an ounce. It's 15% zinc oxide. It does not contain a sunscreen chemical booster, and it's not water resistant. This is a tinted lotion that feels like an emollient skincare lotion going on. The tint is a golden, almost metallic shade that goes on streaky and doesn't blend well around the hair or the edges of the face. It has a distinctive smell that I couldn't put my finger on, but it's vaguely botanical. The pigments just don't blend well into the skin, leaving it looking patchy and unblended. And if I try to rub it more to blend it in, it balls and pills. So sadly for me, this one was not wearable, so I give it a 0 out of 5 points. Right, this sunscreen also from Sephora sale. So happy I didn't pay full retail for it. This is Sarah Creal Brilliant Repair Shield Illuminating SPF 50. It's $64 for 1 ounce, being the most expensive sunscreen in here. This comes in 2 shades. It has 12% zinc oxide. This doesn't contain a chemical sunscreen booster. This is cruelty-free and fragrance-free and vegan and clean and not water resistant. I mean, the packaging is adorable, but I gotta say it's a little annoying that it doesn't stand up anywhere. You have to always lay it down, and you only get 1 ounce in here. This is a tinted runny liquid. It comes in 2 shades. The shade I got it in is Staycation, the lighter shade. It feels wet and oily going on. It rubs in easily, but the pigments don't spread that evenly, leaving tiny like specks all over my face. You can only see them if you're looking at me super up close, and so, you know, a lot of people aren't going to see me that up close, but, you know, I'm looking at it in my 10x mirror and I don't want speckles all over my face, so I was hoping that this would be better, especially for the price. And it has a very, very shiny finish. After 20 minutes of dry back, it looked and felt the same. I gave it a 0 out of 5 as a sunscreen, and I didn't try it under makeup. All right, next up is another one from Sephora sale, and I had such high hopes for this one because it's from Saie, one of my favorite makeup brands, and they do put SPF in almost all of their products, and so I was like, oh, their sunscreen is going to be chef's kiss perfection. So this is the Saie Sun Visor. It's an SPF 35, $38 for 1.35 ounces. It comes in 1 shade and it's $28 an ounce. It's 15% zinc oxide. It does not contain a sunscreen booster. This brand is cruelty-free and clean. This sunscreen is not water resistant. This is a tinted lotion that feels very wet and slippery, but not overly greasy going on. The tint is a really good shade match for me. It hides the white cast and it evens out skin tone a little bit, but it doesn't look like makeup on the skin. It's easy to apply and it blends well around hair and eyebrows, but it does cling to face fur. It settled into my neck wrinkles and it has a very shiny, wet finish that just doesn't dry back. I waited 30 minutes for it to dry back and it still felt really wet, really slippery. If I touched my face, I could still move it around. So I'm giving this one a 2 out of 5 as a sunscreen, and I didn't try it under makeup because for me it was just too wet and too slippery feeling even after a half hour of dry back. All right, next up is another one from Sephora sale. From Ultraviolette is their Velvet Screen Mattifying SPF 50. This one gets a PA++++ rating, so the highest UVA rating. It's $36 for 1.7 ounces, making it $20.50 an ounce. It has 22.75% zinc oxide, no chemical sunscreen boosters. It is cruelty-free, fragrance-free, and not water resistant. This is a lightly tinted lotion sunscreen. It feels pretty thick going on, but not wet or greasy. It feels more dryish and it spreads easily. Even though it's thick, it feels lightweight on the skin. And the tint hides any white cast, but doesn't color the skin or even out the skin tone. The finish is velvety, but not a flat matte. It looked okay, but it settled into wrinkles right away everywhere, including neck wrinkles. So as a standalone sunscreen, I gave it a 2 out of 5. All right, so that's it for the worst of the worst. So the next batch that I want to talk about are the sunscreens that are pretty good on their own as a sunscreen, but they're just not that great under makeup. The first one is one that I was so excited about when I saw that this brand came out with a mineral sunscreen because their chemical sunscreen is one of my favorites. That is Beauty of Joseon Daily Tinted SPF 40. This is $20 for 1.69 ounces, only $11.83 an ounce, so great price point. This comes in 12 shades, so inclusive. This is 20.90% zinc oxide. It does contain butyl salicylate, and it also contains SD alcohol. I mention that because this really hurt my soul and my skin. It really burned my face. which I wasn't happy about because I was so psyched about it. And it's also not water resistant. So this is a runny tinted liquid. I got it in the shade MP200. It feels lovely going on like a lightweight oil or serum. It has a wet yet powdery feel to it. It blends well around hair and eyebrows. The finish is softly dewy but not shiny. The tint is a good match for me, and it evens out my skin tone and looks really natural. I did put makeup on over this one. With makeup, I don't love how this foundation looks over this sunscreen. It looks more dry and cakey than normal, and it's more settled into wrinkles than it normally is. At the 4-hour check-in, the makeup was still wearing well. It looks fine from a distance, but it's really not blowing my socks off. I've seen this makeup look better. After 8 hours, this was kind of a mixed bag. The good was that the makeup still looked in place and hardly worn off at all. So it's almost primer-like under makeup in that it really helps your makeup to adhere to your skin. But the bad news was that up close, it looked very dry and very crusty. It made my skin look drier. It made the makeup settle in my wrinkles more. This felt itchy and made my skin feel so dry and so prickly all day long that even though I wore it all day, I could not wait to take it off from like the first minute that I put it on. My skin just didn't have a good reaction to this sunscreen, and I'm so bummed about it. So if you have sensitive skin, I would be careful with this one. As a standalone sunscreen, I give it a 3 out of 5, providing that you don't have sensitive skin. I think it's an amazing, great price point sunscreen, but I have to take away some points just for it being uncomfortable to wear all day. Under makeup, I'm only giving it a 3 out of 5. It actually was very primer-like, but up close, it didn't look good, and it made the makeup look much drier than usual. Okay, next up is Alastin Hydratint. This is an SPF 36. It's $79, but for 3.2 ounces, so it's $24.70 an ounce. This is 8.9% titanium dioxide and 3.4% zinc oxide. For me, the zinc amount is a little bit low. This does not contain a chemical sunscreen booster. It is fragrance-free, cruelty-free, and 40 minutes water resistant. This is a tinted sunscreen with a lotion texture. It applies easily and blends smoothly. There are no issues around the hair or the eyebrows. It comes in one shade that color corrects an even skin tone, but it's fairly pigmented, so it can be worn as a sheer foundation on its own. It doesn't look like nothing on your skin. It definitely gives you a like tinted moisturizer kind of look. It dries and sets and feels nice on the skin, and it has a soft, luminous finish. Makeup goes on over it easily with no problems, and it looks good. But the makeup immediately settled into my forehead wrinkles. At the 4-hour check-in, it looked fine from a distance, but up close, it was settled in wrinkles, it was breaking up between my eyebrows, and a little worn off on my chin and starting to feel drying. By the 8-hour check-in, it was more worn off, it was more dry feeling, but looking shiny by the sides of my nose, with skin flakes popping up here and there. It shortens the wear time of the makeup by a couple of hours. I gave it a 3 out of 5 as a sunscreen. I love how it looks, but I'm just not sure about the UVA coverage, and I gave it a 3 out of 5 under makeup. All right, next up is InnBeauty Mineral Sun Glow SPF 43 PA+++. The PA rating is for the UVA. 3+ is high protection. This is $35 for 1.7 ounces, making it $20.58 per ounce, and it comes in 3 shades. It's got 14.28% zinc oxide. It does contain sunscreen booster butyl salicylate. It's vegan, cruelty-free, and not water resistant. This is a tinted lightweight lotion. I got it in the shade Fair/Light. It feels silky and it's easy to apply. It's got a very shiny finish, and this shade is slightly light for me, but okay. It has a little tack but doesn't feel greasy, and it smells like rice cooking. Applying the makeup on over it, the makeup balled and pilled a little bit, and the shine definitely comes through the foundation so that I looked a little extra shiny and a little extra textury. Even after applying powder, At the 4-hour check-in, the makeup was a little bit worn off with foundation coming off underneath my fingernails all day. At 8 hours, the makeup was definitely not wearing very well, and so it shortens the wear time of makeup by a few hours, but it didn't feel uncomfortable or drying to wear. So I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5 for sunscreen and a 3 out of 5 for how it sits under makeup. All right, next up is OneSkin. This is $56 for 1.36 ounces, making it $41 an ounce, second most expensive, I believe. This comes in 2 shades, a white and a tinted. I got the tinted. This is 17.5% zinc oxide, and it does not contain sunscreen booster. It is cruelty-free, fragrance-free, and not water-resistant. This tinted lotion feels like a lightweight face lotion going on, like a moisturizer. It's not heavy or greasy at all. The tint is slightly dark and a little bit warm for me. It's very pigmented and the color goes on a little streaky and patchy in some areas. It has a shiny finish and it feels tacky but not greasy. With makeup, it looks fine from a distance, but it's just okay close up. The shine comes through, accentuating pores and puffiness. The makeup looks heavier than normal, and there's slight settling into wrinkles. At the 4-hour check-in, there are large, lighter patches on the sides of my face. The shade of the makeup was a little bit lighter than the shade of the sunscreen, which was too dark for me. Where the makeup hadn't worn off is where my face looked lighter in patches. So it didn't look great. At the 8-hour check-in, I felt like it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. It wasn't drying, but it wasn't particularly hydrating either, and it wasn't overly shiny. So I thought it was okay, but not fantastic. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 as a sunscreen and a 3 out of 5 under makeup. Next up is another one from that Sephora sale. That was a big box of sunscreen. This is Ciele SPF 30 Primer. This is a priming sunscreen. It's $30 for 1.69 ounces, making it $17.75 an ounce, which isn't bad, under 20 bucks an ounce. It comes in 1 shade. It's got 10% zinc oxide. It does not contain a chemical sunscreen booster. This is a clean, vegan, fragrance-free, cruelty-free sunscreen, and it is not water resistant. This is a tinted lotion that hides any white cast but doesn't tint the skin. It's easy to rub in. There are no problems around the hair or the eyebrows. It blends easily and it feels like skincare. It feels slightly tacky and it has a luminous finish. It stays tacky and shiny after 20 minutes of dry down, but it was dry enough that it made me feel like it was okay to put makeup on over it. So with makeup, it is just lovely. It really does live up to its name, which is that it is a primer, and I felt like it made my skin look so smooth and it made the makeup look so smooth. It gave it a little bit more coverage than it normally has, so it looked a little bit more makeup-y, but it was so smooth that it looked great. At the 4-hour check-in, it still looked pretty good. It was mainly still in place, but looking just a little shiny by the sides of my nose. At the 8-hour check-in, the makeup was pretty worn off everywhere, and my skin looked really dry, especially under my eyes, making it look crepey under there. I felt like this felt drying throughout the day. So I'm giving this a 3 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen and a 3 out of 5 under makeup. All right, next up is from Ultraviolette. This is their future screen. It's an SPF 50. It's $40 for 1.7 ounces, making it $23.50 per ounce. This is 20% zinc oxide and 4.9% titanium dioxide. This does not contain any chemical sunscreen boosters. It's fragrance-free, but not water resistant. This is a tinted runny liquid that feels lightweight, not heavy or greasy or sticky. It's quick and easy to apply. It has just enough pigment to cover any white cast, but it doesn't cover or tint the skin. So it looks very, very natural sitting on the skin. It dries down quickly to a soft satin finish. The foundation goes on over it pretty well, but with a little bit of balling and pilling. And it immediately makes the makeup settle into wrinkles and accentuates them. At the 4-hour check-in, it still looked fine from a distance, but up close it settled into wrinkles. It was being weird by my eyebrows and my under eye concealer was much more worn off than normal. At the 8-hour check-in, the makeup was almost completely worn off. So it drastically shortened the wear time of the makeup. As a sunscreen, I give this a 5 out of 5. It is perfection as a standalone sunscreen. Under makeup, I give it just 2 out of 5. All right, next up, Supergoop Mineral Glow Sunscreen. This is an SPF 40. It costs $38 for 1.7 ounces. That's $23.50 an ounce, and it comes in one shade. It's 15.11% zinc oxide. It doesn't contain a chemical sunscreen booster, and it's not water resistant. This is a tinted, runny serum consistency sunscreen. It spreads and rubs in really easily with no problems at the hairline or eyebrows. It feels like a lightweight face oil going on. The tint hides any white cast and evens out the skin tone slightly. It's sheer and has a soft, luminous finish that makes the skin look hydrated and glowy. After 20 minutes of dry back, it still feels a little bit greasy, but also not dry and set. With makeup, it's really pretty with makeup on over, and it gives a little bit of extra glow to the makeup, but there was some slight settling in forehead wrinkles. At the 4-hour check-in, it looks really nice overall. My skin looks smooth, even though there was some settling in wrinkles, but it wasn't worn off, and I really, really liked it at the 4-hour check-in. At 8 hours, it looks fine from a distance, but up close, it looked very dry and very crusty. It had shortened the wear time of the makeup. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 for sunscreen and a 3 out of 5 for under makeup. All right, next up is one of my favorite sunscreens that I discovered last winter, and I talked about this in 2 videos. They've been sold out for months, but they have just restocked, so this should be in stock and ready to go because this is a beautiful sunscreen. It's no wonder it's here in the top, I don't know, 3 or 4, I guess I'd say. This is from Chro-Mat. It's their Ray Reverse sunscreen, SPF 50. It's $48 for 2 ounces, so that makes it $24 an ounce. Comes in one shade. It's 12% zinc oxide. It does contain butyl salicylate chemical sunscreen booster, and it's not water resistant. This is a tinted runny liquid that glides easily over the skin. It blends in perfectly with no problems around the hair or the eyebrows. The tint hides any white cast and evens the skin tone, but it doesn't look like makeup sitting on the surface of your skin. It feels like a lightweight serum. It's not greasy or heavy. It has a satin matte finish, and every time I put it on, I just say, wow! My skin looks great. It's so beautiful because it dries and sets almost instantly, and I can literally put this on and go and look natural and normal and not white casty and not greasy and not shiny with no settling into wrinkles. So with makeup, it was another wow for me. I was like, holy cow, this looks great under this foundation. It was almost primer-like in how it smoothed my skin. At the 4-hour check-in, the makeup was wearing well, and I was actually outside gardening a little bit that day, and I was wearing a baseball hat, so it was a little more worn off on my forehead where the baseball hat was. It felt non-drying and comfortable to wear, and it wasn't getting shiny. But my under eye concealer was a little bit more worn off than normal. At the 8-hour check-in, the makeup was pretty worn off on my nose and chin and under my eyes. Otherwise, it looked fine, but it does shorten the wear time of the makeup by a little bit, but it wasn't settling into the wrinkles. How beautiful it looks on its own, and when I first put on the makeup, really swayed this one for me, which is why I'm giving it such high marks. So I give it a 5 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen and a 4 out of 5 under makeup. Next up is another sunscreen that I've talked about a few times over the course of the year, discovered this one over the winter. This is Live Tinted HueGuard Tint SPF 50. It's $42 for 1.35 ounces, making it $31 an ounce. This comes in 11 shades. It's 9.5 zinc oxide. It does contain chemical sunscreen booster, butyl salicylate. It is cruelty-free and vegan and fragrance-free, and it's 80 minutes water resistant. This is a tinted lotion. I wear it in shade 9, and this feels like a wet lotion going on, but not greasy or heavy. It is very shiny and shade 9 works well for my skin tone. It's easy to spread and good around the hairline and eyebrows, not getting tangled up in there. After 20 minutes of dry back, this still feels a little bit tacky, but it does feel moisturizing and hydrating, and it is wearable on its own as long as I set it with a little bit of setting powder to take down the shine. The makeup goes on over it nicely, but the shine does come through, and a little bit of shine that does come through gives me that nice lit from within glow. At the 4-hour check-in, it still looks great. It wasn't worn off, it wasn't settling into the wrinkles much, and there was a little bit of shine coming through. At the 8-hour check-in, it was mainly still in place. It wasn't really wearing off anywhere. This one feels really hydrating, and it wasn't sliding around, but there was some slight settling in forehead wrinkles. So I really like this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen and a 5 out of 5 under makeup. And that brings us to this year's winner, which is from Kopari. This is their Bright As Day Sheer Mineral Sunscreen, SPF 50. It's $38 for 1.7 ounces, making it $22.35 an ounce. It comes in one shade. This is 10.87% zinc oxide. It does contain sunscreen booster, butyl salicylate. This is cruelty-free, vegan, but not water resistant. This is a tinted runny liquid. The tint covers any white cast, but it's not heavily pigmented, so it doesn't look like makeup sitting on your skin. It evens out the skin tone slightly, giving a warm glow. It glides over the skin easily. It feels lightweight and not greasy. It dries and sets really, really quickly. It has a softly luminous, but not shiny finish. It looks so natural on the skin. It is a gorgeous put it on and go sunscreen. No fussing with it, no need to powder it. It doesn't feel greasy. It feels dry and set. It doesn't settle into wrinkles. Absolutely love it. With makeup, foundation goes on beautifully over this sunscreen. It looks super smooth, and it made my pores look really smooth and smoothed over all of my texture, and I just felt like smooth, smooth, smooth. It had minimal settling into wrinkles. At the 4-hour check-in, the makeup looked almost just applied. It's not worn off anywhere. There is minimal settling into wrinkles, but it is starting to be a little less smoothing with a little bit of texture between my eyebrows showing up a little bit more. At 8 hours, makeup is still in place. From a coverage perspective, it looks just applied. It was comfortable to wear all day. It didn't feel drying at all. It didn't make my skin sting. So overall, I thought it was great. I gave it a 5 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen and a 5 out of 5 under makeup because it was so smoothing and it looked so perfect for probably 7 out of the 8 hours of the day. So that's my winner for this year. If you're looking for something new to try, especially if you like something that goes on quickly and easily and isn't heavy or greasy feeling and feels dry and set right away, this is fantastic. The Chro-Mat Ray Reverse is fantastic. But that said, I always tell you guys that I like to have a sunscreen wardrobe, and so I use different sunscreens for different things. My 2 favorite sunscreens of all time after testing 250 different sunscreens are the Healthy Skin Labs Protect SPF 50 and the Dermatology Physical Tinted Moisturizer SPF 44. They are tinted. These are truly all mineral sunscreens. The top 3 in here all had butyl salicylate in them, so that means I can't use them on my neck, so I have to use one of these on my neck anyway. They're thicker and a little bit heavier feeling going on than say the Kopari or the Chro-Mat, and they do have a shinier finish, so they do need something over them. I either have to set them with powder, or I have to put foundation on over them, but when I want my foundation to look its best and when I'm really looking for a sunscreen to wear with foundation, these are the 2 that I go to. So I highly recommend those 2 as well. If I just want to put on a sunscreen and not have to put on any powder over it or any makeup over it, I'll be using the Chro-Mat or the Kopari, because these, you just put them on and they're dry and they're set. The best sunscreen for you is the one that you'll wear. I mean, obviously you're not going to have the same issues or the same skin as me or the same skin type as me or the same skin tone as me. And so I want everyone to be able to find a wonderful sunscreen that agrees with their skin, that works well with their makeup, that makes it easy for them to use their sunscreen every day. And I have done sunscreen roundups every year of what are, say, my top 10 mineral sunscreens or what are my top 10 sunscreens of all time. So I'll link those videos in the description box below this one and also in the top comment. So if you found this video helpful and informative, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to share this video with your friends. So as always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.